Hey guys, got another build, and this one is sort of what Jonathan, I guess, wanted us to, well, how Jonathan wanted us to play Huntress, or rather spear skills, with a hybrid mentality, I guess. And I also wanted to use the gloves Essentia Sanguis, because, well, Leech is actually really strong in this game, especially if you get enough of it. So, as you can see, you know, I'm using Lightning Spear. Primarily, in maps, primarily you can just clear with Lightning Spear, especially since I have Fork on it as well. Here in Breach, you know, the Fork isn't super crazy, because the packs aren't that big. But in maps, the Fork is popping up, right? But here, as you can see, I'm also using my Primal Strikes. Primal Strikes is a really cool skill, I really like it. The biggest issue with Primal Strikes is that you have to consume, well, you have to have a shock target, and you're also consuming the shock on your final hit. But against single targets, it's not that bad. Of course, this is a Path of Exile 2 build, so you sort of go through a million iterations before you get it to the place where it feels good, right? Especially when you're trying something new out. So what I have right now is probably the best setup that you can have for Primal Strikes. For mapping, you can just spam Lightning Spear, and I'm not investing into projectiles or anything like that. Well, I guess you can't really invest into projectiles and Spear unless you're a Deadeye. But also, I'm not using any frenzy charges, I don't need them. Like, this Lightning Spear clears fine by itself. It's still a really good skill. If you wanna have a build that's... If you enjoyed Lightning Spear last league, right, and you wanna play Lightning Spear again this league, you can do that. The skill is still really good. There's not gonna be any issues. Of course, for single target, you might need a supplement of sorts. Primal Strikes, for example, you know, it's pretty solid. Oh, this guy is tanky. Oh, that's why. But anyway, let me pick this stuff up, and hopefully we can clear Xesht 3. Now, there's one, I guess, disclaimer for this build, is that if you want to focus more on mapping and you don't care about bosses, do go hybrid. Hybrid is better for mapping, especially since we have access to all the good nodes. I just went full energy shield because I wanted to use Essentia Sanguis gloves, which does make bossing a little bit easier, since, well, I have a bigger pool, right? I can tank a lot of things. I can't tank the hand though. I can tank a side of it, but not the middle. I can tank this as well. I didn't need to jump here. I can tank this too. Almost died there. But as you can see, the Leech from Essentia Sanguis is really strong. I heal a lot. Obviously don't want to tank literally everything, but I can tank a good chunk, as you can see. As long as you're hitting. The target has to be shocked, and you have to be hitting. If you meet those two conditions, well, I can tank both of these at once. If you meet both of those conditions, you know, 5,000 energy shield is a good enough amount to tank, well, a lot of things. However, as I've said, in mapping, you do wanna go evasion. If you don't care about bossing, do go hybrid, because we have access to all the nodes that are nearby. So let me... I guess I'll show you a map as well, since I already sort of prepared the map. There was Steaming Springs somewhere nearby. There we go, Steaming Springs. Pretty solid map. I have a, I don't know, a Delirious map over here. Let me quickly show you how it goes in maps. And like I said, in maps you can mostly clear with Lightning Spear, and you know, Lightning Spear is fun, of course, so You do need to hit. If you're not hitting, since we have no real defenses other than the energy shield itself, right? You really need to be hitting something. But if you're hitting something, you're leeching, and if you're leeching, it's likely that you're not gonna die. And as you can see, I'm not really using Primal Strikes much. Of course, if there's a tankier rare, for example, okay, this guy died before I could walk up to him. If there's a tankier rare, you can still use Primal Strikes. Also, Primal Strikes is really cool, right? So, you know, you can, if you like it, just use it. But mostly you can just clear with Lightning Spear, and as you can see, I just got chunked quite a bit because we have literally 0 physical damage mitigation or avoidance. But yeah, basically this is how the map goes, you know. It's pretty much just Lightning Spear while you're mapping, but when you get to the boss, this guy's bugged or something. Let me go find the boss real quick. You probably get the idea how this looks, right? And I'm not spec'd into frenzy charges or anything. I don't generate any frenzy charges. I don't have cast and crit, but if you do wanna map only, you probably should get the sniper's mark with cast and crit, get some frenzy charges, right? Oh my god, there's some hiccups. So you can also Lightning Spear is stronger, right? Because that's primarily what you're using while mapping anyway. And like I said, I went through a bunch of iterations, and Lightning Spear just ended up being the best for clear. This boss is horrible. She's full physical, it hurts like a truck. And same thing, you sorta... You do the Thunderous Sleep, and then you can... use your Primal Strikes to shoot out the spirits. Oh my god. Almost died over there. Didn't chop. Oh, I also forgot I have this. She's taking 0 damage. I guess that's what Delirium and almost died over here. Yeah, she's ironically enough, she's one of the harder bosses because she's full physical and we have no evasion, so everything stuns us, and you know. But yeah, this is how the build looks. Like I said, if you want a map, go hybrid. And I'm gonna go over the tree first. Just some quick tips if you do wanna go, well, if you wanna focus more on mapping, right? So obviously grab this Subterfuge Mask, drop these points, and just pass through here. Connect with these and drop these, and of course, you most likely will have to drop these, but it's okay because you will be able to get these. If I'm not mistaken, you'll just need 1 level, and then you're gonna be able to connect everything that I just said. But I'm only level 92 on this character right now, and well, almost 93. So you know, if you want, you can do that. So on the tree, there's well, since I went full energy shield, I got a bunch of these. These are good, obviously. If you're playing hybrid, you're probably gonna get something similar as well. For the stun threshold, you probably are not gonna need like as many of these jewels as I have, but so you might be able to like drop these 3 points and, you know, allocate them on like more defenses probably. But I went with this. Obviously the spear nodes, like these are really good, right? These are pretty solid. Since I am using a companion, if you're gonna be using Sniper's Mark for mapping cast and crit, right? You don't need this, or cast and shock, I don't know, whichever works better. You'll figure it out. Just these standard nodes, very solid. Dispatch, grab something along the lines of this. Initially I needed the chance to shock, but right now I probably don't, because I'm using primarily just Thunderous Sleep on bosses. But if you don't want to use it, you can also throw Lightning Spears every once in a while and proc shock that way. It's also an option because Lightning Spear has more chance to shock, so it's very solid. Although if you're using that, you probably don't want to use Fork, you want to use a different damage mod, right? If you don't want to do Thunderous Sleep. But Thunderous Sleep I highly recommend against bosses. especially since we pretty much just stand in place and attack, so they don't really move that much. Unless, well, it's a certain type of boss, right? These nodes are very solid. This is 15 more maximum damage, which amounts to about 7% more maximum damage, give or take. And this, obviously, since we are consuming shocks, when this procs, it feels very nice. Crit. This new wheel is very solid for us because we're using Choir of the Storms. Basically, we're just getting 15, 20, 55 crit chance for 4 nodes. That's very solid. It's almost as good as this wheel, but without the downside. You can also grab this if you want. You know, if you grab these and you have leftover points after picking up these, can definitely do that. And as you can see, I went Kiss Inoculation. And these, of course, as well. Sort of mandatory when you're playing Energy Shield, right? And I don't have access to these, sadly. So I opted out for jewels like this. Obviously, get the Heart of the Well for Energy Shield from Body Armor. Energy Shield from Focus is also very solid. I have it on, I think, 2 of my jewels. This is Chance to Inflict Ailments. You probably don't need it anymore. I mean, I don't really need it anymore. Yeah, and this is also just Energy Shield and Focus and some Stun Threshold. So this is the passive tree for the items. I wanted to use Essentia Sanguis, as I said, so I'm using this. If you are going full Energy Shield CI, use them. And of course you will need to grab a bunch of Leech. And since our spear, you want damage of Monster Spear, right? This was actually really easy to craft, very deterministic, so you can take a look at this and figure out how to craft it, right? There's pretty much nothing in here that's random. Another ring, accuracy and leech. Of course, you want accuracy everywhere that you can get, since we are playing Amazon, right? Oh, I forgot. Playing Amazon with these nodes, right? And leech from elemental. That's why it works. Body armor with as much energy shield as possible. Focus. You don't need the plus spells, obviously. You can just focus on the resistances. This was just 2 divines, so I grabbed this because it had perfect prefixes for me, as well as 2 high rolled suffixes, so I grabbed this. One good thing is that the items for this build are fairly cheap. Nobody is really, well, not that many people are playing like accuracy stuff, right? So you can get it pretty cheap. Choir of the Storms, you don't need level 20. Grab a level 19 one, since it's much cheaper. It's gonna be fine. We are primarily just using it for critical hits ignore. The lightning bolt itself against Xesht, it basically never procs the shock. Against mobs it sometimes does, not always, because, you know, we're not really scaling spell damage. So, you know, I also have blind socketed on it, because it also technically helps us with our crit chance, because, you know, it's based on accuracy. So it's a pretty solid choice. Other than that, you know, just Stun Threshold, resistances on the belt, and that's it. If you want, you can actually go for Ingenuity, because we don't really need that many mods on here. The only issue is that you're gonna be having a hard time capping resistances, unless you have like well-rolled items, right? But eventually switch this out to Ingenuity, probably. These are the items for the gems. On the Lightning Bolt, I just basically have shock chance on here and a little bit of damage. I have Infernal Cry, which I forgot to use against Xesht, but it's pretty solid. Doesn't do much, but it grants us rage, which if the enemy keeps hitting us, so we you know, sustain rage a little bit longer. So you could also use a Rage Jewel if you're going hybrid. I didn't want to lose out on more energy shield, so I didn't. Herald of Thunder, Conkefe, well, just damage and accuracy, well, precision, because we need precision for crit, so we're losing out a little bit of damage over here, but this is the only non-companion persistent gem that I have active, so kinda have to socket it in here. Primal Strike, so I'm using Crescendo 2. You can also use Crescendo 3 if you wanna focus more on mapping, because Crescendo 3 makes it a little bit easier to proc the spirits, because it sort of reaches further. You can think of it as sort of an AoE around you that will proc your primal spirits. But this is better for bossing, especially if we don't consume the shock. It's very nice. Heightened accuracy, this is very good for us, because we're Amazon. lightning attunement, elemental armament, and blindside. Since I think it's worth it. It might not be completely worth it. It might be pretty much on par as with like crit molt, or maybe even pinpoint. Not sure. It's a little bit hard to tell, but I'm using this since I'm blinding with the lightning bolt, so it's pretty solid because it's more multiplier. So at the very least, like 30% more damage. Thunderous Leap, so I have AoE in here, I have Shocking Leap, but because of Shocking Leap we do need to make sure that it crits, so I'm using Inevitable Critical, Pinpoint Critical, as well as Persistent Ground, so it lasts longer and I don't need to leap as many times, right? Stormlands, I didn't really get to use it. Stormlands is actually very solid for essences. You drop Stormlands, you val the essence, and then you just do Thunderous Leap, and this basically kills everything. Most essences just die from this. However, it has a lengthy combo, so you know it's more of a setup for the essences rather than an actual thing that you're gonna be using in maps. So you know, just damage and multi-shot on this thing, and obviously heightened accuracy. Because heightened accuracy gives us crit chance as well as attack speed, so it's nice. Voltaic Mark, which is duration, so I don't need to recast it as much. Lightning Spear, heightened accuracy, Fork, because I'm using it for mapping. Pinpoint critical, generally it's enough. Like white and blue mobs tend to die if I crit. Well, maybe not blue mobs, depending on the mob type, but still, I attack enough times where it's not a big deal. Lightning attunement and gamble shot. I like gamble shot more than anything else, since it's only 15% less damage, and you know, I don't know, like to me gamble shot just feels the most reliable without losing as much damage, but if you prefer one of the other ones you can also use it. Also, this is not as bad for single target as if you would be using chain, for example, because chain is like minus 40%, right? So if you wanna throw a spear or two instead of Thunderous Leap to maybe leech a little bit as well, gamble shot will combat the minus damage a little bit, or just gem swap if you want. On my boar, so I was looking for chill, and I got it with temporal bubble, so I just, you know, was really happy. Yeah, it's up to your preference. You can also use haste aura if you want. You can also use shock if you don't wanna thunderous sleep as much. You can have your, you know, boar as a shock bot if you want. That's an option. A hulking minion so it doesn't die as much. Elemental army again. Last gasp again, and Mitchell also. You can also suck it in loyalty. I didn't do that because I have as much pool. Well, I have a lot of HP, and I will be, since I'm taking a lot of damage since I'm permanently leeching, he will be dying pretty often, so I'm just keeping him around for, you know, for the attack speed buff that I'm getting from my spear. Obviously, if you don't have a spear like this, you can probably just suck it in loyalty. But yep, this is it. Oh, this flask, I don't really press it. I suck at it in, but I don't really press it. But you can use it if you don't forget to press it. Also, we don't get hit that often while mapping because we're ranged, so generally the rage tends to fall off. But yep, this is the build, and I guess on to the next, right? Anyway, that is it for today, guys. And you know, they'll reminder to play what you want, what you think is cool, and ignore the meta. Anyway, that's it. Bye bye.